Imagine you're interviewing with a potential hiring manager or another member of the team, and you get asked a question about advocating for someone else. What do you think happens when you provide an amazing example? Well, instantly your interviewer is seeing you as likable and a good fit for the team just by providing this one type of example. So, why? Because anyone that can share examples of times where they went above and beyond for others, it's confirming that you're a strong team player and being willing to stand up for others, even when it can be uncomfortable, is just a huge win in job interviews. So, in today's video, I'm going to walk through a full example of how a software engineer stood up for a newer teammate during a critical project and how that decision made the product better, the culture stronger, and left a lasting impact on the team. So, as always, let's imagine I'm interviewing with Sue, and she's the hiring manager for a software engineer role. Jeff, I want you to tell me about a time you had to stand up for a team member. Sue, this is an example from my time at Atlassian, working as a backend software engineer, specifically on our Jira team. And we were in the middle of a major upgrade to improve how fast and reliably Jira handled system logs, specifically our records that track user activity and system changes. So, one of our newer engineers, Priya, had joined the team about 8 weeks earlier and was assigned to redesign a part of the system that stored these logs. It was critical and it was a little bit low visibility. And I noticed early on she was getting inconsistent and sometimes unfair feedback on her code reviews or during our code reviews, despite her strong technical work. So my task was to integrate Priya's logging feature into the rest of our system, ensure it works smoothly, and help it get ready for release in 6 weeks. And take it upon myself to make sure her work was evaluated fairly and that she felt supported as a new team member contributing to a pretty major project. So I started by looking at how the current system was performing. I pulled system performance data from our monitoring tools, looked at how slow things were during peak hours, and compared that with what Priya's new system was designed to fix. I also looked at her pull request history and noticed that the feedback she was getting didn't really match the actual performance improvements that her code was providing. So, next, I decided to make the case for moving forward with her changes using objective data. So, I created a side by side comparison showing how her version of the system stacked up against the old one by focusing on things like speed, reliability, and server load. And then I got a second opinion from a couple of senior engineers outside of our team to make sure I wasn't missing anything. Then, lastly, I prepared a short write up just highlighting how her work addressed the actual technical goals of the project. Then I set up a one to one with our tech lead, raised the issue, and in our next team stand up, I talked through it. I explained that the code met all of our team standards and that the repeated rejections were based more on style than substance. I showed them the performance data and shared outside feedback I'd gathered. I made the case that it was important for the team to be fair in soft tone, especially to newer team members who were doing high quality work. So we had to test it. So we ran a round of testing to confirm the system worked as expected under load. And then we used simulations to mimic real customer activity and compared performance with and without Priya's code. And her version showed a clear improvement, faster response times, and less strain on the database. So then we needed to execute. So we integrated the new logging system into our staging environment first and began a phased rollout. We used feature flags to release the update gradually, starting with a small percentage of users, and then we tracked real time performance and error logs to catch any issues quickly. We also kept daily check ins to monitor rollout progress and made small tweaks as needed. So the next step was to coordinate the launch of the new system during our regular release window. So I worked with DevOps to schedule the deployment in a low traffic period and ensured our monitoring tools were in place to detect any performance or logging issues. And I collaborated with our QA team and on call engineers to have rollback steps documented in case anything went wrong. And of course, I was keeping Priya in the loop throughout and having her come in and give advice as well. Then I would needed to present. And so I presented the results during our monthly engineering review, and I highlighted how the new system reduced load on the back end and sped up common tasks. And I made sure to call out Priya's work specifically by name. My goal was to make sure the team understood the impact of her contributions. Lastly, I created internal documentation that outlined the implementation, rollout steps, and technical learnings. We included this in our engineering wiki so all future teams could reuse this approach. And we created a new internal checklist for how to review code more objectively. This became the standard across all backend teams. And the results. By standing up for Priya and ensuring her work was judged on merit, we delivered a better performing system. The steps that she took and the steps that she really used to improve our logging system sped up the speed by 17% and reduced our load on servers by 22%. It strengthened team morale, which was critical. It encouraged inclusion and showed that we could support new hires doing great work, even when we had complex systems and maybe they were working on less exciting items. And this phased rollout process and data review approach became a repeatable item that we use for future projects. As always, these answers are super robust to show you all the components you can talk through. As you are preparing for interviews, don't just focus on what you've done, focus on how you've helped others succeed. Standing up for a teammate shows emotional intelligence, leadership, and cultural awareness. And it tells your future employer, this is someone I can trust in the tough moments. And in a super competitive job market right now in 2025, this type of answer can make all the difference. Thanks so much.